Hey guys, welcome back. We're back with another Ratchet. Before we start, if you like this content, do me a big favor and give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It would help me a lot. Okay, today we have a Penncraft 4100. Penncraft was a JCPenney brand, kind of like a competitor to Craftsman and Sears. This was their house brand. This ratchet follows the New Britain design. So it has a very small head for its half-inch size, half-inch drive size. And this one differs too in that it has a quick release in this design, which is kind of interesting. But here's a look at the ratchet. In the back it has the patent numbers. That's the Anvil. Profile look. What's interesting in this one too is it has two snap rings. This is the first one. In this ring you have to stretch out instead of compressing. Let's take a look inside. Okay. Here's the little stretch ring. And all this does, this little ring, is hold this thumb ring. And for some reason they included this thumb ring. And it's made of plastic. So it's not very sturdy. But I guess they wanted to add that feature. Now this looks more familiar. More like the regular New Britons. It just has that snap ring there, the big snap ring that holds the mechanism in. Okay, you just push it out. And here is your mechanism. Oh, here's your cap switch. And this cap switch has the little button for the quick release, and that button is made of plastic. Here's the switch button, switch lever. Okay. This is the mechanism. It's slightly different than the other New Britain designs. Here's another New Britain. This is a spotter. But it's pretty much same design, but just this one has some nuances. You see that the Penncraft has finer teeth also. I think this one has maybe 9 teeth, and this pawl has 12. And this one has 2 switching plates in it. This one has a single switching plate. You see the plates here? There's one on top and there's one on the bottom underneath it. This one just has one, but it compensates in other ways. Okay. Let's take this apart. There's this spring here. This is the pawl spring. This little wire spring here. In the other design, the pawl spring is underneath the pawl in a hole. It rides inside of a hole. Just pull this one out. And there is the spring. Just a small wire spring. Okay. And this is the spring here for the quick release lever. So we need to remove that spring. Just get a little lip up on the switch. And I just start turning the spring as it rides. It's one of the little lips in the lever, rides on the spring. Just twist it, gets it off. There's the spring. Okay, this design only has one switching plate. This is the switching plate. It looks like a happy face. And it has the spring. Has a spring that rides on a hole in the bottom, and it goes through the mouth here. Like that. With the two prongs sticking out. That's how it looks in the back. That's the spring. The spring has two prongs, and one is longer than the other one. And that's going to come into play later. Okay, here's the Anvil Mechanism housing. Here's the pawl. Notice there's no hole here where there usually is in the older design. This pawl rides on top of a spring that's inside of a hole. This one doesn't have the hole because it has this small wire spring instead. But here's a look at the housing. This is a quick release plunger. It doesn't come out, so unless I try to pull this out somehow and then yank this out, I don't want to destroy it, so I just leave it at that. That's the ball detent. Goes in and out like that. That's the Anvil. And like New Britain designs, the Anvil is way bigger than the housing for this size of an anvil, 1/2 inch. See how big it looks compared to the body. Okay, those are your parts. Oh, here's the pawl. what the paw looks like. It has these two little raised areas here. That's to connect to the switching plate, so you always know to put it back in the same, only one way, with those two little detents sticking out. Okay, to put this back together, you take your switching plate, you take your spring for the switching plate, and the small prong goes through the hole at the bottom. Okay, like that. The small prong through the bottom hole, and the long prong through the mouth, like that. And you take it and you put it inside of the housing, but you have to make sure that those two little detents in the paw go through the eyes, are inside the eyes of the plate. Okay, you might have to hold it down a little bit because that spring wants to bring this plate up a little bit. Next thing is you take your quick release spring and you start threading that in. You thread it back on to the switch, the quick release switch. Thread it on. Okay, till it clicks and it's totally on. It's all the way on. Next, you take the paw spring, and if you see here, one prong is longer than the other one, and the other one is like a little curve to it. That smaller prong with the curve fits in this little hole on the face plate, on the switching plate. Stick that through there, and this longer prong goes on this hole here. Okay, like that. You see? That's the spring that makes the paw float. Like that. Okay. Next you take the switch cap. The switch cap has this detent in it right here. Okay, that's gonna go, oh, there goes the cap. For the switch. Okay, that detent is gonna go on top here by the paw, and this hole right here is going to go inside the long prong in the mouth, spring prong in the mouth of the switching plate. Let's bring in that. Okay. Now I should be switching. Okay, we got it. Oh, and here's a look inside the housing. See, this is a finer tooth than the older model New Britain, the Sparta. This one has finer teeth. The teeth are in the middle, and they have here the groove for the snap ring, and in the back it has some space behind the teeth there also, where the switch cap rides in. Okay, you take your cap, you try to hold it in position, make sure it stays, and you might press down the pole a little bit to get it in. Okay, there we go. See if it works. Yeah, it works. Okay, very little back drag in this design. Very little. You take your large snap ring, put it in place there, make sure it's in the groove good. And another thing, this doesn't have the pronounced click. It does have a click, but not as pronounced as the older or the other design. The New Britons. Like that one, you can really click it when you change the direction. It's like click. This one has a click, but a little bit softer. Okay, the last thing you do is you put this plastic ring back on, thumb ring, and you see here on the anvil that there are two steps. One is more higher, and then there's this low one here. Okay, the low one on the side here. There you go, the low one. You put that one on the flat sides. The flat sides of this thumb ring. And you put it down. Pull it down. And the last thing to do is to take this tiny stretch ring and put it on the groove. Put it on the groove there. Make sure it's in there good. That's it. That's the total teardown of the Penncraft 4100. Alright, till next time. Thanks a lot.